How to be more secure in relationship. This is the topic of today's video. When I talk about being secure, I'm referring to the attachment styles. As you might be familiar, we have two major types of people or behavior in relationship. People who are insecure by nature and people who are secure. And the idea in this video is how can you move from an insecure attachment style to a secure attachment style. I was, for example, more or less avoidant personality, really insecure in my relationship, and through therapies and years of work, I'm now more secure, and the impact is extremely important in terms of my relationship with others, my relationship with my spouse. So I'm going to explain you exactly the process you can follow if you want to feel more secure, regardless if you are anxious or avoidant. Jingle.
igetmyexback.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
So when we talk about security, the first thing that came on my mind was to talk about the Maslow pyramid. So you're probably familiar with this concept of the R pyramid of needs, and it starts with the physiological needs, the safety needs, and then you have to love, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. I'm a strong believer that in relationship, we have more or less the same pyramid. Maybe not the same items, but the same pyramid. And what you fail to understand, and that's what I hear very often when I speak with some clients, is that they talk to me about all the amazing things, the excitement of the relationship, the connection, we had something special, etc. But when I ask them, like, do you feel secure with that person? Are you able to express your feelings? Do you feel listened? All these kind of things, they tell me, well, not really. And that's why they're really insecure, because sometimes, and that's the point of this video, when we are dating someone, when we are in a relationship with someone who's insecure, that could trigger as well a form of insecurity within yourself. And a breakup, to be fair, a breakup can also create that dynamic of feeling insecure, feeling actually more anxious than we should or we could. So the idea here is to really put the things in the right order, really looking at building that pyramid from bottom up, rather than looking at what matters in your relationship starting from the top. If your basic needs, if your basic relationship needs are not met, you can't have a successful relationship. So very often, when you're in the honeymoon phase, you could sort of fake it. It doesn't matter if your basic needs are not met, because you're just having fun in this pleasure. But it's when we transition from a pleasure-driven relationship to more of a connected or long-lasting relationship, where we transition from passion to companionship, that's where you need to have these spaces. Okay, so I'm going to explain you exactly, very briefly, about attachment style. So as you might be familiar, we have 4 types of attachment styles. The one on the top left is secure attachment style. So it's basically people who are confident in relationship, who are able to reciprocate things, resilient. When things are not going well in the relationship, they neither give up or blame their ex, they work on things. The anxious preoccupied is people who have this emotional hunger. They crave emotional connection. They crave kind words, signs of affection, things like that. The other one is dismissive avoidant. I'm a former dismissive avoidant. So if you want to learn about if your ex or your partner is dismissive avoidant and you have questions, don't hesitate to ping me. I'll be more than happy to help you understand the psychology of your partner. And so people are driven with isolation, emotionally distant, because they had this ability to self-soothe when they're kids. The idea of this video is not to go too much into details. There's other content in my website if you want to learn about attachment style. And the fourth one is fearful avoidant, which is not very common, about 5% of the people. And it's really about unpredictable. What defines them is really the unpredictability of their behavior and a lot of internal conflict. And the idea is, regardless which bucket you are, we can tend to go towards the secure attachment style. How does that work? The first thing you have to understand is this is unconscious. The way we perceive relationship, even though we think we understand how it works, there's a lot of mechanics that are unconscious. And attachment theory takes its core from deep fear. Two main fears. The fear of abandonment, which is the one behind anxious attachment style. So anxious attachment people, they are so scared that their partner will leave them that they have this kind of, not crazy, but really clingy behavior. Okay? And so, for example, if an anxious attachment person sends a message to their ex, it would be very hard for them to wait for their response, to wait days or hours for their response. Now, the second fear is the fear of intimacy for avoidant people, i.e. former Alexis. In that case, let's take the other way around, is when you receive text from your partner every half an hour, how are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you not answering me? It gets overwhelming. Leave me alone. I want my space. Okay? And so those two fears, obviously completely different, opposite, are unconscious. Think of it as people sometimes are scared of spider. They have a phobia of spider. And some people don't. And I'm not talking about the massive big ones that are hairy, and maybe like tiny ones, and people would be scared. It's completely unconscious, because if you think about it, the tiny little spider can't bite you, can't harm you, but you're scared of it. And it is because it's unconscious, right? You can't help it. You're scared of spiders. So it's exactly the same. You can't help it. You have this fear of abandonment. You have this fear of intimacy. So that's what we're going to deconstruct here in this video. First is for me to help you understand and bring awareness on those fears. That's one step. The second step is, once you are familiar with your attachment style and you accept that you're anxious or you're avoidant, how can you work on those things? Because I know if you're watching this video, it's because you want to work on yourself, you want to grow from potentially a breakup or from potentially a difficult relationship. And that's what we're going to do today in this video. First thing is to really observe yourself. And it's something that it's a counselor's job, is to help people. What I do with my clients is to help them really take a step back and observe what's going on in their head. What's the thought process, the emotions behind what's going on, their thoughts, their actions, okay? One thing that I use sometimes is called the acceptance and commitment therapy. It's really linked to the mindfulness movement. It's really about how can you be in the present moment? How can you zoom within yourself to try to understand those, what's going on, the internal battles, those emotions, those thoughts. Understand those emotional response. You know, when you're stressed, well, you're stressed because maybe you have no news from your ex and you become clingy. So so what's going on in your head? What's the thinking process when you send a message to your ex, to your partner, he or she doesn't answer? And very often when we have session, there are things like, I feel he's cheating on me, I feel he doesn't care about me, I feel I'm the only one investing in the relationship. There's a lot of things that we play in our head. So really connect with those things and connect to those emotions. The same for avoidant people, you know, that feeling of overwhelmed. Why are you overwhelmed that your partner wants to go on a date with you, to spend time with you, to, you know, spend your weekends together? Well, I feel that I don't have my space. I feel like she depends on me. I feel that it's so annoying that she can't do things on her own. So you have to deconstruct those things. So really try, maybe sometimes what I do with my clients is, what's the emotion? You know, you're stressed, you're not feeling well. What's behind that? Why do you feel like this? What's the thinking process behind this? So one way to do it, a practical way, is to use the framework I call RAIN technique. So it's an acronym. R is for recognize what's happening. I'll explain after how it works. Allow, so allow life to be just as it is. Investigate with kindness, and the non-identification part. And when you do that, you create self-compassion. Because when you don't do this work and you suffer from those fears that are, as we discussed, unconscious, this is when we start blaming ourselves. You know, I'm not made to have a relationship. I'm suffering so much anytime I'm dating someone, because I need to hear from him or her. So, I can't be with someone. Or if you're avoidant, I can't have a relationship because every time I get intimate with someone, it freaks me out and I want to leave. By doing this work, learn about, okay, I'm like this, but I can take control. And I can learn about myself and I can love myself because I have the resources to feel better and to feel more secure, because that's the point of this video. So in practice, and maybe pause this video, take some notes, write down on a piece of paper, Rain, as we discussed, what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling stressed? What was the trigger? Is it because of a message I received? Is it because of a message I didn't receive? Try to play around, really brainstorm in your head. What was the trigger? What's the response? How, sometimes, when we're very upset, when we are stressed, this is when we make mistakes. That's why it's so important to get some help sometimes after a breakup, because as we shift from a rational behavior to a completely erratic, irrational behavior driven on fear, this is when people make mistakes after a breakup. This is when people are clingy, needy, send messages that are sort of nonsense. This is when people break no contact for no reason because they are scared. Okay, so that's why I do also with my clients is I help them. Okay, pause. I'm I did a video recently. I'm their Geppetto. The little cricket from Pinocchio. I tell them okay, let's pause, let's reflect. What would be the right way to do it? Is it a really smart thing to do? So pause things and reflect and recognize. The second thing is really to allow thoughts, emotions to enter your mind and your brain. A very simple example to understand. If you want to go to bed and sleep, if you go to bed and if you want to sleep, the worst thing you could be doing in order to fall asleep is to tell yourself, I need to sleep, I need to sleep, I need to sleep, I need to sleep. And the more you fight, like, I'm not sleeping, I should sleep, the worse it'll become. It's exactly the same with those things. The more you fight them, the more you dismiss them, the more you get annoyed by them, the worse it is. The idea is to embrace them, and that's your job right now, is to learn how to cope, how to understand those things. And that's the third part, is really investigate. What's the belief behind this? Why am I so stressed when my partner is not texting me? As I discussed before, do I feel like he's cheating on me? Do I feel like he doesn't care about me? And why do you have this belief? What happened in your childhood in different relationships where you felt that people you loved, people you cared, sort of disappointed you? I don't know, shitty example, you were at the bus stop, your father told you that he would pick you up and he never did. And you had to come back home alone. And that created a traumatic experience where you feel like, I'm so scared of people abandoning me that now every time I'm with someone, I get hold of that person and I don't want that person to go. Because at that time, this was a massive trauma in my life. It could be other reasons, could be other events in your life that define what you think and that define that inner fear. And the fourth one is non-identification, is to realize that if you feel anxious, if you feel stressed, it doesn't really define who you are as a person. It's just a chemical response in your brain, if you must. So don't blame yourself, don't be so critical on yourself. What you're doing right now, actually, listening to tips, trying to learn about yourself, is the proof that you are doing the right things and that you are working on yourself. So don't think that, I'm anxious. I'm an anxious person. That's the way I am. No. You have anxiety, and we all have anxiety, to be fair. It's just like, okay, now that I know this, now that I accept this, how can I work on this? The impact, and that's the thing very important for you, is once you've done that, that security will attract your ex. That security will bring confidence in your partner if you're in a relationship that you can be happy together, that you can build something together, that you can be at the same page, same level. The tension, all the misunderstanding are gone. You know, we talk a lot about communication in couple counseling, but the communication is the outcome of those fear emotion. The communication is the outcome of, okay, I'm so stressed, I'm annoyed, I resent, and this is what I say. Versus now, if you sort of address this early on, about this resentment, those emotions, those thought process, those beliefs, when you communicate, the communication is different. Or some people, for example, if I talk about myself, as an avoidant person, I would avoid conflict. And therefore, it's the lack of communication that would have a detrimental impact on my relationship. But I've learned to understand, okay, there's an discomfort within myself. I feel like I want to say something, but there's something preventing me. There's an emotion. I'm scared. I'm scared that if I get into a fight, I'm going to lose, I'm going to spend some time arguing, and I don't have the energy to argue. Okay, and so therefore I'm not going to talk. And when you don't talk, when you don't share, when you don't express your needs with your partner, this is a recipe for failure. So as a result of that work, your communication will change. Your ex will feel like, oh, she's changed. Oh, he's changed. He's not harassing me by message. I use message because I think it's, especially in the work I'm doing, people who have this the tendency to be anxious. The communication aspect, especially when you're not together and you don't only rely on text message to communicate, it's very frustrating. But I think it's a good example. And for avoidant people, the same. Now, you know, he proactively asked me, how am I doing? I don't have to be the only one instigating conversation. You know, he's okay to speak with me on the phone. He sort of smiles now when we're on the phone, and he seems to enjoy it, right? When you do that, the recovery process will feel easier because you won't be forcing things. You know, I don't know if you listen to other tips online, but a lot of people I speak on the phone with, when we do our first session, they ask me, like, you know, what's the shortcut basically? How can I manipulate him? How can I force him? How can I force her? How can she, you know, run into my arms? It doesn't work like this, unfortunately. Otherwise, it would be too easy. The first reason it doesn't work is because your ex knows you very well, and therefore, as soon as you start to do something weird or manipulate them, it's game over because they feel like, whoa, there's something weird. So it's just getting things in an organic way, recreating something in an organic way. You were together at some stage, so it's not hard for you to get back together. So things will come in place. You won't feel like forcing, and your ex, as a result of that, will feel more secure. If you're an avoidant and you start to get closer to your ex won't feel the need to be clingy. If the other way around, you're anxious and you don't spam your partner with messages, he won't feel overwhelmed and he will feel more secure. So it's really, and that's the thing, there's a really dynamic. What you're doing can have a massive impact on your partner. And what I'm saying about relationship, love relationship could work with your colleagues, your friends, your family. Last word, so watching this video is great and well done. High five to you. But the thing is, don't believe you'll become more secure if you don't take action. So now you know a little bit more about how to feel more secure. Maybe you can watch again the video and it would help for the referencing. And really sort of master this skill. But it's really about how you can take action, how you can practice this every day. Because you are going to have those emotions every single day. You're going to have those thoughts every single day. How can you stop? RAIN. And find someone to help you. Find a sparring partner, whether it's your best friend, whether it's a therapist like myself. It's really about how can you feel accountable to do something every day. And if you want to learn more about this, check out my portal. I have a portal where I have few resources, courses, tests to know your attachment style. And if you like this video, if you want to see more of those videos, don't hesitate to like and subscribe. Take care, bye-bye.
I get my xback.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.